What is up, everyone? JD here. Hope you're doing well today. We're going to be jumping into my full review of the Reeve Sebenza 31 Magnacut in Cinco. Let's get into this. So what I'm going to do is just some quick size comparisons. We'll do a profile comparison. We'll check the weight on this one, and then I'll jump into thoughts and impressions. So let's do some quick size comparisons. Here we go against the Spyderco Para 3 and the Spyderco Shaman. You can see this is a full-size knife coming in line with the Shaman, just a skosh longer out on the blade and about the same handle length. So that should be helpful for some folks out there. I got a couple more that we can do. We'll do the Benchmade Bug Out. And I guess I keep bumping the table because it's rocking. We're going to do the TRM Atom and Titanium. You can tell the Sebenza is bigger than both. Since it is the full-size knife, I'm going to use that for the profile comparison so you can get an idea of the thickness of the knife. It'll help with a sense of how it'll be in hand, how it'll carry in pocket. So you can see here, it is a little bit thicker than the Atom. And it is probably going to be about the same thickness as the Shaman. I'd say probably about the same. And then the weight on this, being that it's full titanium, full size knife, probably going to be around that 5-ounce mark. So 4.5 ounces, actually a little bit lighter than I thought it was going to be. So not bad. 4.5 ounces is really good. Now, I've done reviews on the Sebenza, the plain Jane, and I've done reviews on the actual Umenzan as well. And I like both those knives a lot. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the differences. So this one here has the micarta inlay, and that really does add to the ergonomics for this knife for me. I like the additional thickness in there. It makes it feel a little bit fuller in hand. The extra chunkiness to me is very enjoyable and very comfortable. As far as the Cinco blade on here, it is a nice hollow grind, much more of a utility shape. You can do some puncturing, but you have to kind of come up to get into those punctures. You're not going to be able to come straight through and puncture as easily as the drop point, but you can do it. You know, you can definitely manage to make it work. I like this blade shape more because it's more of a working style blade shape. It's going to be very, very nice. I did switch from the RGT to the MXG pocket clip, and that's because the RGT pocket clip kept sliding side to side, and I didn't like that at all. It was just scarring up unnecessarily on the knife. I don't mind the marks from using it, but I don't want an aftermarket pocket clip to scratch it up unnecessarily. The MXG has not moved at all, and as far as it going in and out of the pocket, I forgot to take this knife out of here. I did want to kind of demonstrate it using this pouch to give you an idea. Now this does have a little bit more of a lip to it, but as far as how it goes in and out, so very grippy and very tight. If it is a little too tight for you, I have found with those, you can kind of start to take some of the pressure out by just simply lifting up on it and then just kind of working it out a little, and that'll take a little bit of the tension out and give it some more relief. I believe this is the version 2 for MXG, so I think it's a little bit better than the first. But what I have found is because it does have that steep ramp on there, it does still catch the pocket a little bit. So I'd like to see them kind of round it out from this side as well, and I think that would help make it go in and out of the pocket smoother. Same complaint that I had from the first Sebenza that I had. I absolutely hate this pocket. I mean, this thumb stud, not the pocket clip thumb stud. Actually, the factory pocket clip works the best out of all of them. It's just not the most attractive. But again, it's meant to be a very rigid premium working knife, something that's going to last multiple lifetimes. But I just do not like this thumb stud. I really like the one that was on the Umenzan from the factory. That's a very comfortable thumb stud, and I wish they would just go ahead and switch that for all of the knives. Now I know that the Umenzan's thumb studs acts as the stop pin as well, so I get that, but I still think it would be much more useful than this one. It's just very uncomfortable, even for the slow roll. And if you like to loosen your pivot up or work your pivot into where you can flip it open, it's going to be even more painful for that because there's nothing really to grip onto. It's just a cone shape, and it's not very good. You can see I still haven't broken this in all the way. That edge from the factory on the Cinco blade is absolutely bonkers. I know people say this is not a slicey knife, but it's also not a really thick knife. I don't understand why people say it's not a slicey knife. It's hollow ground down. It's going to be thinner behind the edge than a lot of flat ground blades. a lot of people hate on this blade, but I really don't have any issues with it whatsoever. I mean, it is just as slicey as it wants to be. Probably needs to be stropped up a little bit because I have used it to break down some packages. But again, very nice, very slicey from the factory. I mean, I have no issues with it whatsoever. I might have a little snag there from breaking down a box or two. You know, that cardboard is the worst thing for a knife because it has little grits of like stone in it that are just not good for a blade's edge. It's like taking it across the stone. It's gonna impact it. It has, again, really good sharpening twill on this type of knife. You're going to be able to go a long time with sharpening it. And you know, there are other knives that you can get out there. I just showed you like the Shaman and the Atom that are much more affordable, very slicey knives that have really good heat treats from the factory. This is heat treated at 65 HRC on the Magnacut, right where you want it to be. Really good heat treat, and all the finishes and everything on here are very impressive, very well done. But this is, and not to say that those other knives are not meant to be handed down, but as you use this, the titanium is not going to deform, it's not going to corrode away, whereas the G10 that you would get on like a Shaman or the micarta on an Atom, that's eventually going to break down and you're probably going to want to replace the scales. Again, over multiple lifetimes, not in a lifetime. They should hold up just fine in your lifetime. But this is something that would be a family heirloom that you can pass down generation over generation. You're going to get lots of sharpening out of it, and you're going to be able, far as I can tell with Chris Reeve knives, get this blade replaced. So it's something that'll keep on giving for a long time, something that you can hand down, and it's a really beautiful piece of work. And again, not saying, because I know some people are going to get upset that are big time Spyderco fans, and I love Spyderco. I love their product. I think you get an absolutely fabulous working tool, and then same thing with TRM. You get very slicey working tools that are really good, that are going to do just fine. I'm saying just over a long period of time, I think, you know, there's a little bit something more classy about the Chris Reeve knives. Not saying price wise, not getting into price, just product here, because I know some people are going to comment about the price, and I get it, totally get it. But very rarely are you getting titanium from these two, and then when you are, you're coming within a few $100 with the Atom, with titanium on top of a steel nested liner. And the tolerances on here are very good, and it breaks in very nicely, and you can get that out of all three of these variations. But again, you're getting full titanium scales, you're getting hollow ground blade, very slicey, you're getting a very good work shape here with the Insinco. It's going to be a better work shape than either one of these two leaf shaped knives. These are good, and they're going to be very good still to puncture. Like, I think they balance better the ability to be able to puncture and do utility type cutting, but it's not going to be as good of a working blade shape as the Insinco. These two I would give the advantage over the drop point for the Sebenza, for me personally. But I think there's just something about this design, the shape. For me personally, it just really fits the hand nicely. Very, very good. I like this. I mean, I think it would be comfortable to use this all day, every day, all year long for any type of work. And I think people shouldn't be afraid to use this because of the price point. Again, it's a very nice USA made knife. And again, I get that price point. And I would say the same thing for the Atom. I think this is something that, even though it is thinner in hand and the ergos are not quite as nice as these other two on the table, it's still very comfortable. And I think this is something that you could use for a large part of the day, but I think at some point in time you might feel a little discomfort with this one if you have larger hands, because it is a little bit skinnier. You get a little bit more substance with the other two, and I think that's something that I like about this. Now, this is a right hand bias knife, but Chris Reeve Knives does offer left hand variants of their knives. I think they don't do them in all options. I think it's plain Jane and maybe some others, but this is definitely more of a right hand bias knife. You can get the compression made easy from OCD for EDC, and you can use it it works pretty good. I mean, it does close the gap on this not being left-hand friendly, but for me, I have found with, if I'm using it left-handed, I always want to just kind of throw that pinky down in there and kind of sandwich it between these 3 fingers and this one for extra stability, so that I'm not just using, just the thumb and this, because the other thing with the shaman, which you don't get with the paramilitaries and the para, is you get that little nub that wants to push the thumb out, and that to me just kind of gives it some stability. And it's a little uncomfortable and unusual at first, but after doing it for so many years, it's actually quite normal for me as I bump my microphone. But I really like this version here. If you've ever handled the Sebenza and you feel like it's too small, I would say you probably can find these a little bit more available than you can the Umenzon. I would say Umenzon is probably a little bit better ergonomically, but I really like this because it gives you a little bit of something extra like the Umenzon. The Umenzon has some milling across the body to give it something a little bit more of a pop, versus the plain Jane of the Sebenza is just a flat slab of titanium. It's nothing that stands out. Now, having said that, if you're not into anything that makes your knife stand out or pop and you like the more subdued look, then the plain Jane is going to save you some money and it's going to be more subdued. But I really like these. I know a lot of people hate on them because of the price point, but I think for what you're getting, the premium materials, the build quality, the warranty, the backing behind the product, as long as you don't want to do any crazy modifications, you get good backing. I have read that I can't do anything with this thumb stud on my own because it does void the warranty, and I wouldn't want to do that. I wish they would give some options from the factory to send it in to get the Umenzon stud put in its place. I would 100% do that, but it is a very good knife, and again, something that would be handed down generationally, something that I do think that competes very well as far as build quality, heat treat, what you're getting as far as quality from the knife against any foreign knife that comes in, whether it be Russian, Japan, Chinese, doesn't matter. I think this is one that we could actually stand behind and be very proud about. So that's just my thoughts and impressions on Chris Reeves as a whole, and then about the Insinco blade on the Sebenza with the micarta inlays. Just a completely different animal in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on this one? Let me know in the comments below. On Chris Reeve, not on Chris Reeve. I know some people talked about the Imamba, which is a little bit smaller. It's like the small Sebenza size knife, and that one's on bearings, and I get that if you like the action and that's your thing, but there is something very oddly satisfying about the clicks and slow methodical opening and closing of this. Kind of throws you back a little bit, back to better time. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this one. Shout out to everyone out there that leaves the likes, that's comments, and that is subscribed. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.